Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday. Happy Freaky Friday to all you freaks out there. I hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. Today is Freaky Friday, so of course we have our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay. Got a pretty big one today, too. Over plus 700 odds. I'm really excited to dive into it. But first, guys, we can't dive into today's video without recapping last night and giving a little period of mourning for the end of our December ladder challenge. We were riding high. We were a little too close to the sun, though. 4 consecutive days in a row, we cashed plus money parlays. We were up over 13 units. Heading into yesterday's video, 2-leg parlay, plus 150 odds. Nikola Vucevic over 17.5 points was no sweat, cashed easily into the third quarter. But Jaylen Johnson Jr. over 24.5 points, plus rebounds, plus assists. It did us in. And look, hindsight's always 20/20. I saw some people in the comments saying I probably should have taken that again. I already had taken him a couple times this week in some of the other parlays, and it did work out for us last night and didn't, and it was really frustrating because if you watch the game, it made no sense why it didn't cash. Now, his plus minus was not great. I think it was like minus 19 last night, not very good. So maybe that factored into it, but he had 15 points, shot 5 for 9 from the floor. They sat him for most of the second half, and what really was astonishing was, if you watch the game, the officiating was awful. I feel like it's been awful in a lot of NBA games this year. Ja Morant gets called for a foul, which was a invisible foul. It didn't happen. He didn't even touch DeRozan. Ref calls a foul. Morant obviously got frustrated. There had been a couple bad calls before that. He gets ejected from the game. And then you'd think, okay, there's 6 minutes to go. It's like a 2-point game. Morant's done. You'd assume the second best player on the Grizzlies, Jaylen Johnson Jr., would play the rest of the game, and they'd probably be the focal point. No, they immediately benched him with like 5:30 to go in the game, and they sat him from like 5:30 all the way till 1:30. They sat him for like almost the rest of the fourth quarter. Wasn't in foul trouble. He had only played like 23 minutes up until that point. So I really don't, they weren't on a back-to-back, so I really don't understand what the reasoning was. I mean, the Grizzlies did end up winning the game, so I guess ultimately it worked out in their favor. It just was frustrating from a betting standpoint because there really is no reason as to why you'd bet Jaylen Johnson Jr. in that spot, especially when Ja Morant's already ejected. So it was just a really frustrating performance. He only missed it by like, I think, 6 points, rebounds, assists, so it wasn't like it was he was far off either. If he had played the rest of the fourth quarter, you could make the argument that he probably would have cashed it. So frustrating, yes, but it is what it is. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you guys who tailed along had a lot of fun doing it. We will do another ladder challenge in a couple of weeks leading up to Christmas, starting December 18th. We'll start our second ladder challenge of the month. So no need to fear. We'll be doing another one very, very soon. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who rode along for these past 4 or 5 days. I wish we could have kept it going a little bit longer, but the good news is we got another parlay here, and we got a really big parlay. So let's not waste any time, guys. Let's dive into today's picks. All right, guys, starting off the first leg of our 5-leg parlay, we're starting off with Bucks Celtics, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We're going Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics over 7.5 rebounds. These are all mostly alternate, not all alternate lines, but some of them are alternate lines, and also they're available on multiple sports books. DraftKings, I know for a fact all 5 picks are available. I think at least 4 of them are available on FanDuel. You guys can obviously play around, and if there is not, you can always add a point or subtract a point, whatever, and they will be available on different sports books. Data is pretty solid. If you're going to narrow it down just the last 10 games first, he's cashed this over of 7.5 rebounds in 9 consecutive games. A 90% hit rate over his last 10 games, averaging 9.7 rebounds per game. So far in 2024, a 71% hit rate, 15 out of 21 games he's cashed the over, averaging 8.62 rebounds per game this season. So the data across the board looks to be pretty solid here. The head-to-head data also very solid. 4 of his last 6 meetings with the Milwaukee Bucks, he has cashed the over. It's a 67% hit rate, averaging 7.5 rebounds per game, right on that line. They played 2 times already this year, back on October 28th and November 10th, and Tatum cashed the over in both of those games, including the last time out in November 10th. He had 12 rebounds in that game against Milwaukee. So pretty good numbers there. And the rebound chances were there. 14 rebound chances on October 28th, 17 rebound chances on November 10th. Overall, Milwaukee this year, they're 25th in rebounding. Not a very good rebounding team. They're giving up 45.5 rebounds per game to opposing teams. That is bottom 5 in the NBA. Tatum kind of goes between small forward, power forward. Those are the 2 positions he plays between. Versus small forwards, the Bucks are 24th in rebounds allowed, giving up 8.5 rebounds per game. And versus power forwards, they're 17th, giving up 10.4. So whatever way you shake it, whatever position you put him at, they are bottom half of the league in both those categories. So really good marks for Tatum. He's already done it twice this year versus Milwaukee. He's done it in 4 of the last 6 games, 9 straight coming into this one for minus 150 odds. Pretty damn good value. All right, guys, our second leg in today's parlay. We're moving on to the Lakers-Hawks game, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We got Jaylen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks over 17.5 points. Got a lot of juice on this one. It's minus 225 on DraftKings. This one actually is a DraftKings exclusive. But as always, guys, you can add a point or subtract a point, and you could probably get another one. Like if you add 1 point or 2 points actually to 19.5, it is available on FanDuel. The data is still actually pretty solid too. But we're taking it at the 17.5 point line. He's cashed this in 9 of his last 10 games, including 7 consecutive games. He's scored at least 18 points. He's averaging 21.5 points per game over his last 10 games. Really good numbers for Jaylen Johnson. Look at the 2024 season so far. 17 out of 22 games he's cashed the over, averaging 20.14 points per game, a 77% hit rate. Had a little bit of a slow start to the year, but look at the last 20 games. 17 of his last 20 games he's cashed the over, an 85% hit rate. So really good numbers here for Jaylen Johnson. And the head-to-head data, although a small sample size, is solid. You do see each of his last 2 meetings with the Los Angeles Lakers, both taking place last season. He cashed the over, averaging 22 points per game across those 2 games. The Lakers so far this year offensively have been solid, but defensively they have not been that great. They are 22nd overall in the NBA in points allowed, giving up 115.7 points per game this season in general to opposing teams. Versus small forwards, where Jaylen Johnson primarily plays, they are 23rd in the NBA, giving up an average of 22 points per game. Whatever way you shake it, we got some pretty good numbers here. And look at the minutes here, 36.4 minutes per game this season for Jaylen Johnson. He's taking almost 16 shots per game, so the volume is certainly there. And he's shooting 51% from the floor. So tons of volume, tons of shots, tons of opportunities. Love this spot here for Jaylen Johnson. All right, guys, our third leg in today's parlay, we have Kings Spurs 8 p.m. tip-off. This is the most juiced line of any of the picks in today's parlay. We have Domantas Sabonis of the Sacramento Kings over 34.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. This line is also a DraftKings exclusive, but again, if you want to go ahead and tail this, if you want to use FanDuel or something, you just got to knock a couple points back on this thing, and it's available on more sportsbooks. We're taking it at 34.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, and the data looks pretty solid here. 86% hit rate so far this year for Sabonis, 18 out of 21 games he's cashed the over, averaging 39.71 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. So really good numbers. Look at the last 10 games. 8 of his last 10, 80% hit rate, averaging 39.2 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. The data across the board, even the last 20 games, 90% hit rate, 18 of his last 20 games, averaging 40.05 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. The data is fantastic across the board. For minus 250 odds, it probably should be. The head-to-head data is also very fantastic. Each of his last 5 meetings with the San Antonio Spurs, including both meetings thus far this season, he's cashed the over, averaging a whopping 46.4 points plus rebounds plus assists per game over his last 5 games against San Antonio. They played just a couple days ago on December 1st. He had 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists in that one. Now, Sabonis is playing on the second night of a back-to-back. He obviously played in that Grizzlies game last night, so little risk there, but it's a really good matchup. Now, obviously, we took the Vucevic prop last night in his points for a good reason, because the Spurs were missing Victor Wembanyama. They already weren't great defensively as it was versus centers, but without Wembanyama, you have Zach Collins defending. Vucevic had like 35 points last night. He had a field day. Even though he's playing on the second night of back-to-back, the Kings did lose last night. I expect them to want to get a little bit of revenge here, get a nice win here. They actually lost the last time they played San Antonio too, so the Kings kind of need a win here. I think Sabonis is going to play a healthy amount of minutes, and look at the matchup here. The Spurs, 25th in points allowed to opposing centers, 23rd in assists allowed, and 7th in rebounds allowed. But again, take into consideration those numbers with Wembanyama on the court. Wembanyama is out again tonight for San Antonio. Sabonis should absolutely eat in this matchup and dominate Zach Collins. And just go ahead and look at the back-to-back data to show what it looks like when he plays on back-to-backs. It's not that bad. So far this year, he's 73% hit rate. He's only played 4 games this year, but in 3 of those 4 games, when playing on the second night of a back-to-back, he actually has cashed the over pretty consistently. And the one time he missed it, he literally missed it by 1, which was on November 25th versus the Thunder. So really good numbers. They look at the data, the volume usage. He still plays about 37 minutes per game. You see the lowest he had was 34 minutes versus Utah. So he plays a decent amount, even though it's the second night of a back-to-back. I expect his usage rate to be pretty high here. And again, the matchup is just too sweet to go ahead and ignore. All right, guys, the fourth leg of our 5-leg parlay. This is by far the riskiest leg, but I like the matchup spot here. We have Pacers-Bulls, 8 p.m. tip-off. I'm going Tyrese Haliburton. I know people are going to go ahead and scoff at this, but Tyrese Haliburton over 9.5 assists. It's available for minus 130 on DraftKings. Available pretty much on every sports book for varying odds. And unlike the other props I've shown you guys, the data is not very good on this one. It's a 39% hit rate. Like I said, this is definitely the riskiest leg. We're taking a chance here, but everything in life's a gamble to a degree. So we're taking a gamble here, but the value, I think, is still there. Overall, just a 39% hit rate on the year for Haliburton. He's averaging 8.43 assists per game, so he's putting up decent assist numbers, and a lot of close misses there for Haliburton. The problem is, to take an alternate line, there's not much available. You got to go down to 7.5, which is available on DraftKings for minus 390, minus 270 on FanDuel, and that is better, but it's not crazy good. It's a 65% hit rate, which is obviously a lot better, but his head-to-head data still remains the same. I'm going to take the bargain here on the, or the gamble, I should say, on the 9.5 assist line. He has cashed it in 3 of his last 4 meetings with the Bulls. He's had some pretty high assist numbers, too. Now, the last time they played on March 27th, he had just 5 assists in that game. It was a blowout loss for the Pacers, but he's averaging 13 assists per game over his last 4 meetings with Chicago. Some pretty big games. Back on December 28th of last year, he had 20 assists in that one. He's averaging 21.8 potential assists per game against the Bulls over their last 4 games. Even this year so far, though the assist numbers are not very high, he is averaging 15.5 potential assists per game. So it's a matter of the volume is there, he's just not getting a ton of assists. The Bulls overall, the second worst team in the NBA in terms of assists allowed to opposing teams, and versus point guards, the second worst team in the NBA. They're giving up on average 10.7 assists per game to opposing teams. The Bulls on the second night of a back-to-back, they're missing Kobe White, they're missing Lonzo Ball, they're missing both their point guards. So their numbers aren't good with those guys. Without them, it's even worse. I think the Pacers should have a field day. I think Haliburton's due for a really big game here, so I'm willing to take the chance on him here over 9.5 assists. In the 5th and final leg of today's parlay, guys, we're moving on to the Jazz Trailblazers game, 10 p.m. tip-off. We're going Collin Sexton of the Utah Jazz over 21.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Pretty good data on this one. He's cashed this over in 14 out of 20 games this year, a 67% hit rate, averaging 22.67 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. We narrow it down to the last 10 games, 70% hit rate, averaging 23.7 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. The head-to-head data is pretty solid, though he has not played Portland yet this year. In 3 of his last 4 meetings with the Trailblazers, he has cashed the over, a 75% hit rate, averaging 24 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. Overall, the Trailblazers this year, they are bottom 10 in all 3 key categories: points allowed, rebounds allowed, and assists allowed. They're bottom 10 in each of those categories, so a pretty good matchup. Versus shooting guards, where Collin Sexton primarily plays, they are bottom 6, 24th, 24th, and 24th across the board in terms of points, rebounds, and assists allowed. And it makes sense. Look at the last 2 meetings against the Trailblazers, again, both last year. He had some pretty big performances against Portland. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Collin Sexton has exceeded 23.5 points plus rebounds plus assists in 11 of his last 13 games versus bottom 10 defenses for rebounds allowed, averaging 29.9 points plus rebounds plus assists per game average, an 85% hit rate. So look at that data. Pretty good numbers there dating back to last season. Of course, we don't have it at this line. We have it at the 21.5 points plus rebounds plus assist line, so even better for us. So really good numbers here. And actually turns into 12 of his last 13. So really good numbers there for Collin Sexton. Pretty solid final leg of today's parlay. All right, guys, those are all 5 legs in today's parlay. We have Tyrese Haliburton over 9.5 assists, Collin Sexton over 21.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, Jaylen Johnson over 17.5 points, Domantas Sabonis over 34.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, and Jayson Tatum over 7.5 rebounds. And this sometimes does happen, guys. While we're recording live, the odds can change, the lines can change. So literally, I just saw this as we're recording. Literally 3 minutes ago, Jayson Tatum's over 7.5 rebounds was available on DraftKings. It no longer is as of now. I'm going to leave it here. As the day goes along, hopefully DraftKings puts this back on their card. If not, we'll just ride with the 4-leg parlay. It's still plus 454. This would have been plus 730. I think it was plus 730 the way I looked at it earlier. Unfortunately, I don't want to just quickly just throw something in there just for the sake of throwing something in there. Hopefully it'll come back on DraftKings. If it doesn't, we'll just ride with the 4-leg parlay. It's still plus 454 odds on DraftKings, so pretty good value. Hopefully they add it back. Again, sometimes this happens. You got to be quick with these lines sometimes. But that is the parlay. So it's 4 legs, hopefully 5. Again, if you can get the Jayson Tatum prop on DraftKings, go ahead and ride with it. They might add it back on. We'll see as the day goes along, but if it doesn't, you stick with the 4 legs, which is still plus 454, still really solid value. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, guys, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I'll be back next week next week. Whew. I'll be back tomorrow. Sorry, guys. Back tomorrow with another NBA player prop. I just want the weekend to get over with. You know what I mean? We'll be back tomorrow on Saturday with another NBA player prop video, regardless if we win or lose. Thank you very much. And remember to comment freaky down below if this parlay hits. One lucky commenter will be selected with a free $25 Amazon gift card. Again, I will accept the 4-leg parlay. I think we're just going to go with the 4-leg. If you get the 5-leg, get it. But we're going to go with the 4-leg plus 454 just because I don't want to see someone who can't get the 5-leg. I want to be fair to people. So 4-leg parlay plus 454 odds. Again, if you can add the Jayson Tatum leg, by all means, go for it. But at least do the 4 legs plus 454. Again, comment freaky down below. And if that 4-leg parlay hits, one lucky commenter will be selected with a free $25 Amazon gift card. Guys, until tomorrow, hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Freaky Friday. Have some fun out there. But be safe.